Lebetkin, you and Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell. Ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. I'm sorry I'm laughing, okay? I'm sorry I'm laughing. I just had to restart this video, recording this video, because, as Mick Jagger said, what a drag it is getting old. I'm a bit congested. I'm often a bit congested. So I just blew my nose, right? I just blew my nose, and I started recording this video, and I went, oh, wait a minute, is that a big glob of snot on my moustache over it? Like, what the hell? So I stopped recording, and it turned out, no, it wasn't. It was just grey. it was just more grey. So there you go. What a drag it is getting old. It will make you restart your videos when you're scared that you have your bodily fluids all over your face. So anyway, like, share, subscribe, ring the little bell, all those good things, We're going to be talking about Jupiter's Legacy. I've been meaning to make this video for like a week or so since the news dropped that Jupiter's Legacy was effectively cancelled after one season, which I found reasonably surprising. I think most in genre and fandom also found it surprising. We all thought it was doing well. So I have some real thoughts onto why it was cancelled. I mean, listen, I got several layers of thoughts, but for actually why it was cancelled, we'll be going over there. There's an article on Screen Rant. I just googled Jupiter Legacy cancelled after season 1. Because I knew a lot of media outlets talked about it. I just picked the first one, which happened to be Screen Rant, which are normally unbelievably stupid. Right? So we're gonna add that in as well. But I think I'll give the official party line, and we'll try and see if we can get the things to my theory and that to somehow sync together. That's the plan. Anyway, before we get into it, hit the like button. Freaking awesome! Thank you. You are awesome for hitting the like button. I don't think I say that often enough, but thank you very much. Hit that like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. If you're subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, if you can consider hitting the subscribe button, that's really helpful. That is, generally speaking, very, 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 very helpful. I don't think I can be overstate that. And comment. Let me know your thoughts on the situations around, around the world, or just what I'm talking about right now. Like, share, subscribe. And comment. Also, please feel free to go click the link below and check out my Indiegogo 2 freaking awesome comic books. Which I do think Jupiter's Legacy I will call freaking awesome comic book. I have enjoyed all of them. We got Biblical, 220 pages long, Bible stories, Aces, Crisis, Rashless and Rose, kind of like an early Vertigo book, Sandman, Hellblazer, that kind of thing. We have The Imperium, a love letter to telefancy in the 1960s. I wrote this one, I wrote and drew the other one, and Dominic Ratchet did the art. You get a ton of stuff. Listen, never mind the quality, fill the width, baby. A ton of stuff. You get pin-ups, somewhat pervy cards, postcards, I think it can't be understated. My enduring love and respect. That's the main thing you get by back in my Indiegogo. We got a bunch of posters. I mean, and we're going to continue with into the next campaign, which I am looking forward to starting any moment when I get around to wrapping up this one. I tell you, I could really use a support staff, okay? That would make my life freaking awesome, as support. But I think most people, also feel the same way. But anyway, Jupiter's Legacy, did you see it? Firstly, let me state how incredibly happy I was that it was cancelled. I was up to episode 5 and hating it, right? Hating it even more and more as I went through. I found it more painful to go through. And I was like, I got to review it. Oh, thank God. And then it was cancelled. I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh, free at last. I don't see those last 4 episodes. So what is it that I didn't like about it? Well, quite a few things, right? What is it I think they did wrong? Firstly, the A-B story structure. There's 2 plot lines going on of basically set in the modern day when there's superpowers in the world, and there's lots of superheroes flying around, and superheroes are kind of like influencers, vacuous celebrities, morons, those sort of people. That's anyway in the comic, in the TV series, not quite that. We're going to get into that in a second. And then the B plot was which they took up half the show, like 50% of the show, was set in the late 20s about how these superpowers came into being. And you have the same characters in the late 20s, early 30s storyline as, you know, youngish people in the 30s, whatever, as much older superhero people in the current day section, right? So you had that part going on. So the first problem was I found the 1920s, 1930s section very, very dull. I found it very dull because I knew where it was going to end. I knew they were going to get superpowers because and bring superpowers into the world, because we can see that it just seemed pointless, right? Pointless and boring. I think a bigger problem, though, with this was that it fundamentally misunderstood the comic, which is weird, because Mark Millar, who they gave a lot of money to have access to his work, was involved in the creation of it. So why this worked as a comic, right? It was something that many people my age experience. We have our generation, we look at the younger generation, and we look at the younger generation and we go, how? Just how are you so useless and stupid, right? And we go, like, what would happen if this younger generation would actually take over the world? And we are seeing it, right? This younger generation has basically taken over the world. We are, listen, I know what's going to happen. We just had a pandemic last year. I thought we all kind of just knew it came from the lab in China, right? I didn't know we weren't allowed to say it. Thank God I didn't know we weren't allowed to say that, because I didn't say that. That's why I didn't say it, because I didn't know that was a problem. But apparently that was a problem, and you were deplatformed for saying it. But so now they're going, oh no, it probably did come from a lab, and the Chinese are like, no! No investigation. If you investigate, we are going to go to war. Which seems to me, was quite likely is going to happen, right? It seems like, I don't know what's going to go down. I mean, maybe America will just surrender completely, say, no, we won't investigate. Either way, we'll see what happens when a younger generation takes over. 2021, it's not very good, is it? It's not. For everything they complained about is now a lot worse, right? A lot worse objectively. So that was essentially the idea of the comic. We had like a very noble generation of superheroes, which has a complex backstory, which they looked into in different books, right? But they had this like very noble generation of superheroes, and then about to be superseded by a very vacuous generation, and basically they're screwing up of the world, right? They're in complete destruction of the world. Participates them to step up and actually become decent people, which I found an interesting story. So the first the first reason they couldn't follow that is because they didn't want to have the main character being noble heroes, right? They again, I'm only 5 episodes in, and thank God I'm out. They very much wanted to like weaken the the central character rather than offer nuance into his character. His nobility was basically sucked away, and he was essentially turned into a bad father, right? Which is kind of a 2021 trope. So that basic premise didn't work. But having the AB storyline going on, simultaneously, this is what I think happened. This is why I think it was cancelled so quickly. Because Netflix has access to the viewing data. And I think the viewing data was like this: strong first episode, and by the 3rd episode, they saw a steep decline. But I think what they saw is how people doing exactly what I tried to do. I'm like, well, I'm just going to try and skip the 1920s section, because I know what's going to happen. So I'll fast forward for those bits, and I'll just see the present day, because some of that was quite good. But that just made me see the present day was all about deconstructing this character and making him into a weaker, worse person. So that didn't work out, and then it was cancelled. So, oh, thank God I'm free. Free at last, baby, free at last. So I think they saw the data of people. I think there are people either like the 1920s section or the present day section, and they A/B'd it. They tried it for a few episodes. They just watched that one and tried it for a few episodes, and then they just said, forget it. I don't care. I don't care. Leave me alone. I think the data was really harsh. I think the implosion was really, really harsh, which is why it got cancelled. So the reason it's surprising it got cancelled is because it was this was a major investment for Netflix. They bought out Mark Millar's company, Millar, so they could mine his IP, which this was a huge one of, right? It kills me because it would have been a great. I think it would have started as a superhero tale. Then they could have gone into like a historical superhero thing, which nobody's seen, like, you know, a 1960s set superhero stories. Because this is where superheroes are right now. People are bored with the generic Marvel superhero movie. We've seen it a billion times before. You know, I think that was really shown when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out at the same time as the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Falcon and Winter Soldier, first episode anyway, cinematically good. You know, had a real cinematic, kinetic movement. It was the aerial scene, but it's stuff we've seen a million times before. And it just was boring. It really was boring. But it was made to look 100 times more boring when you looked at it next to Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was somewhat original, something new in the genre. But anyway, so I think, you know, a 1960s set super, like Mad Men meets, you know, The Boys, for example. I think that would probably go quite. So they had all this potential in mind there, but the first season, the first thing they did, boom, fell apart. And I do get the feeling it was going to go into a science fiction thing, because in the comic book you have you have them discussing why they have superpowers, like why the superpower, like because it was given to them by some people beyond, right? Some other entity, and so they speculate that it's to get them ready to meet something much more humanity ready to meet something much more dangerous. Some kind of space thing was going to. So I think it was going to go from superheroes to nostalgia to historical to space opera. This was going to be huge, right? Huge, and it pooped the bed, right? It pooped the bed. Never got to take off, which I'm a bit disappointed because I think it could have been great. Honestly, what they would have been better to do is not have a dual plot line, but have a 4-episode miniseries of the current day, and then a 4-episode miniseries prequel leading up to it. That actually might have worked much better. But no. So it's gone. So anyway, that's my theory. I think the data they have, the viewer data they have, was disastrous. Was absolutely disastrous, which led them to this somewhat, like, you know, I wouldn't say suicidal, but self-defeating move, right? I think that's what went down. But let's see what Screamer has to say. Why Jupiter's Legacy was cancelled after season 1, and what's next? The poorly reviewed Jupiter's Legacy was cancelled on Netflix. Well, was it poorly reviewed? People said, well, this is interesting. This is different. I thought it was. That's why it was somewhat surprising. It seemed to be doing reasonably well. Listen, Mark Millar said it was the greatest thing ever. It had great views. It was doing really well. But Mark Millar's a bit of a carnival barker, and he's good at it, right? And probably what he was saying was true, because I think that first episode probably did have good viewership. I just think that's imploded shortly thereafter. But there's a new show, Super Crooks, will take place in the same world, which I didn't know. I read Super Crooks, which is a heist movie with superheroes, you know. So I didn't know it takes place in the same world. If you want, who cares? Jupiter's Legacy was cancelled after 1 season on Netflix, though the world of the show will continue based on the comic of the same name. The reason the world of the show is going to come is because they put a lot of money into buying Millar World, and they need to mine that IP, right? I think if they can reuse any expense from Jupiter's Legacy to create something new, they would do that. Based on comic of the same name, Mark Millar and Frank Quitely's Jupiter Legacy, a story of an aging superhero team called the Union of Justice, passing on the torch to a younger generation. In doing so, another thing they really, I think, messed up with this is they had the son of a utopian, the guy, be a very, he's trying to be noble, trying to be heroic. In the comic book, he was a vacuous, Kim Kardashian-esque moron, as most that generation. Again, what the thing that really drove it, especially in the second book of Jupiter's Legacy, is after their idiocy had destroyed the world. Again, look out your window. We're basically living there. It forced them to step up and become heroes, right? I don't see that. I don't think that happening so much in this one. But yeah, they made him like a noble character, but like somewhat of a screw up. So Again, it's like 2021 defamation of men. Is weird. It's weird, and it just makes everything worse. Apparently, the show was out of touch with audiences as well. In doing so, they realized some of their ideals may be out of touch. Apparently, you see, this is the exact opposite. Let me read that again. Jupiter's Legacy tells the story of an aging superhero team called the Union of Dust passing on the torch to the younger generation. In doing so, they realized some of their ideas may be out of touch. No! They're the complete opposite. The comic book is the younger generation realizes their ideas are completely out of touch. And why? I wonder why it failed. Apparently, the show was out of touch with audiences as well. The series starred Josh Bell, Ben Daniels, Leslie Bibb. Was Netflix's first entry into Millarverse. The streaming service bought the comic powerhouse in 2017 and has ambitious plans for projects inspired by Mark Millar. Mark Millar has done just really great work, and I would say he's one of him and Brian Michael Bendis are the two major architects of the MCU, right? The MCU is essentially a cinematic version of the Marvel Ultimate Universe, and really, I mean, listen, they did a show, they did a book called The Ultimates, which was essentially the Avengers, and they cast, Samuel Jackson as what was it, Nick Fury in the comic book before he was in the movie. They also cast Steve Buscemi, I think, as Bruce Banner, Lucy Liu as the Wasp. But yeah, it was very much, you can see, they're great books, by the way. I recommend you pick them up. And also, if you want to see a great template of how to do Fantastic Four, go check out Mark Millar's Ultimate Fantastic Four. Again, he did that with Brian Michael Bendis, and it's just excellent work. Among Millar's great many comics are Kingsman, Kick-Ass, and Huck. Honestly, the one I really like to see them do is also the Flash Gordon. He did a Flash Gordon one with Flash Gordon as an old person, like what happens when he gets old. What's that called? A Starlight, maybe? See, that's the one I would really like to see. The comic book icon was also behind some of the biggest selling storyline, Civil War, Captain America Civil War, Old Man Logan was the inspiration for Logan. The end of Jupiter's Legacy comes surprisingly 1 month after its May 7th release. Was it? It can't be. It's June 7th now. And I heard about 2 weeks ago. So, no. On Netflix. Granted, the show was troubled from the get-go with the showrunner Stephen T. S. Knight, Marvel's Daredevil, which is one of the shows I really liked. I kind of liked the Netflix Daredevil show did get me into the MCU, like street level thing. But, the one I was really looking forward to was Jessica Jones, because I love Alias. Alias is a great comic. Again, it was Brian Michael Bendis before he went, garbage. And basically, it was very similar to the TV show. However, it was set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, in the background, you had, Marvel superheroes fighting people, which it was completely devoid of in Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones, they had some weird magical powers for reasons and nobody really explained why. Not setting it firmly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe really killed that. But Daredevil was great. But look, the first 2 seasons, and even then they go on a bit long. Leaving midway through the debut installment over Creative Difference, you could tell. Yes, you could tell. Oh, well, that makes sense. Because you see, again, I saw 5 episodes. You saw a real implosion of quality. That's really interesting. Though the series spent a fair amount of time at Netflix top 10, it was plagued by bad reviews before getting axed. Still, its legacy will carry on. Millar announced he's already on Supercrooks, a live-action show that takes place in the same fictional universe but focuses on villains. He probably always was focusing on this, right? It turns out Netflix and Millar were going in opposite creative directions with Jupiter's Legacy. Yeah, again, maybe Millar wanted to do the comic and Netflix wanted to do this woke crap. And yeah, and that's what you see. I mean, that's really what you see on screen. This like dual narrative going in two different directions and it not working. It's kind of tragic, as I said. So with an IP and talent options soon expiring, the streaming service set to cast out of their commitments. Another reason for the cancellation may be the cost of the series. Viewership versus cost is a major factor when Netflix decides whether or not to cancel a show. With reports of Jupiter's Legacy costing $200 million to produce, quick cancellation before makes more sense. But you know, this will set Netflix apart from most of the other media giants. They would rather spend another $200 million than admit they got something wrong, right? Netflix is all about the money, baby. All about the money. Whatever the viewership for the poorly reviewed series, it's clear that it wasn't worth $200 million. And again, I think it was the massive dip, right? I think they went, pow, like that. I think the demographics, I think the data was really rough. Jupiter's Legacy was perhaps doomed from start. No, the show was panned for its boring storyline, sluggish pacing, and cheap-looking special effects. So it scored much higher with audience. The show could muster a 38% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Who cares? And who cares about the critic score? Okay, who cares? The story simply dragged out a beloved Mark Millar comic to the point where fans, at least those who could keep their eyes open, just couldn't recognize it. And again, if that was their plan, to say that the older generation had got things wrong, it's fundamentally the opposite of what the comic book was. It failed, right? It totally failed. It also took itself far too seriously for a series that used such cheesy wigs. Again, that was basically the whole 1929-30s section. Of course, being forced to finish post-production during pandemic didn't help. Really, listen, effects people can sit at computers anywhere, at the house, in an office, you name it. They're very versatile. Being forced to finish post-production in the pandemic didn't help, but words like slow motion and awful followed the yeah, listen, you're just trying to justify it, right? You're just trying to justify it. Fans of the show want after more longer live-action Super Crooks leaves room for more from Jupiter's Legacy to return. In addition, an anime version of Super Crooks is on the way. Why do two versions? Netflix is basically all in on Mark Millar. Besides Super Crooks, several other Millar projects are in development, including American Jesus, Magic the Order I never read, and Shaky the Bounty Hunter, never read that. I think that's all post-Netflix stuff. What about Starlight? Starlight's freaking awesome. Jupiter's Legacy, not so much. Not so much. So there you go. Jupiter's Legacy, gone and soon to be forgotten from TV. That Netflix deal that the comic book professionals are all drawing for isn't your golden ticket, mate. Just make good comics. Just make good comics and be happy with that, because there's a big market out there for good comics. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.